The echoes of fallen empires whisper a chilling truth. Everything built by human hands eventually turns to dust, leaving behind only the silence of history's great ruins. In our modern age, the collapse is no longer marked by falling stones, but by the frantic flickering of screens and the quiet erosion of our internal peace. Why do we answer messages so quickly? Why do we laugh so loudly at stories that aren't even funny? The truth is, we are deeply afraid of silence. When you carry the scent of desperation, the world treats you like a beggar. We have become slaves to the validation of others, losing our core identity. We live in an era where everything seems to be falling apart, not by the sword, but through the overwhelming weight of a soul in constant overload. The storm outside is chaotic, a whirlwind of information and judgment. Yet at the center of this gale, a small light must remain perfectly still and unbothered. To survive the collapse of the external world, one must build an internal fortress, a sanctuary of stillness that no amount of chaos can ever hope to penetrate. Your mind is the only territory you truly own. If you do not govern it, the chaos of the world will surely invade and colonize your every thought. The art of stillness is not about ignoring the world, but about finding a point of absolute gravity within yourself when everything else is being pulled apart. This is the journey toward the inner fortress. It begins when you stop looking for safety in the hands of others and start building it within your soul. In the next few minutes, we will explore the blueprints for this fortress, using the wisdom of the ancients and the insights of modern psychology to find peace. Epictetus, born a slave and physically broken, taught that happiness begins with a clear boundary. He called it the dichotomy of control, the foundation of Stoic wisdom. He realized that while we cannot control the weather, the economy, or the opinions of others, we have absolute sovereignty over our own judgments and our actions. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius practiced this while leading armies. He knew that the mind could remain a citadel of peace, even amidst the blood and mud of war. The battles have changed, but the struggle is the same. Whether facing a spear or a scathing email, the choice of how to react remains entirely yours. Like Leonidas at the narrow pass, you must decide where your line is drawn. You cannot stop the enemy's numbers, but you can decide how you stand. When someone insults you, they are merely making noise. The pain only occurs when you decide that their words have the power to hurt your character. Look at these two circles. Most of our suffering comes from trying to reach into the outer circle, trying to manipulate things that were never ours to hold. Trying to control the world is like trying to catch the ocean in a net. You will only exhaust yourself while the water remains as it is. Focus instead on your compass. Your character, your values, and your response to the present moment are the only things that truly belong to you in this life. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless, it's about being unshakable. It's about tending your own garden while the world outside discusses the coming of the winter. Don't try to command the storm, command your ship. A skilled sailor does not curse the wind, they adjust their sails to reach their destination regardless. Life is a game of chess where you don't choose the opponent's moves. You only choose your next move. Play it with dignity and without any regrets. The dichotomy of control is the ultimate filter. It removes the unnecessary weight of anxiety, leaving behind a core of pure, indestructible focus and inner strength. The external world will always throw stones into your lake. Your task is to remain deep enough that the surface ripples never reach the quiet bottom. When you master this distinction, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the sovereign of your own soul, no matter what the world does. But why is it so hard to stay calm? Psychologist Martin Seligman discovered a phenomenon called learned helplessness that explains our tendency to give up. If a creature is subjected to pain it cannot avoid, it eventually stops trying to escape, even when the cage door is finally left wide open for them. We often build our own prisons out of past failures. We stop believing in our power to change because we have been conditioned to accept our suffering. Fear is often disguised as politeness. When you say yes while your heart screams no, you are slowly erasing the boundaries of your own sovereign self. The cage door isn't locked by others, it's locked by your own belief that you are powerless. We become comfortable in our chains because they feel familiar. Time is the currency of your life, yet we spend it trying to please everyone else, effectively handing the keys of our fortress to total strangers. To please everyone is to become no one. By avoiding conflict, you are actually creating a deeper, more permanent conflict within your own divided and weary soul. Seligman's research shows that we can unlearn this helplessness. It starts with a single act of defiance, a small refusal to be a victim of fate. Acceptance is not resignation. It is the acknowledgement of reality so that you can finally act effectively within it, rather than just reacting to the pain. Break the habit of being yourself if that self is just a collection of fears and societal expectations. You are more than your learned limitations. Start setting boundaries. Each time you say no to something that drains your spirit, you are laying a brick in the wall of your inner fortress. The cage was always open. You just had to stop looking at the bars and start looking at the horizon. Freedom begins with a single step: regain your sovereignty. The world can only imprison your body. It can never touch the mind that refuses to be shackled by fear or doubt. Carl Jung believed that we cannot reach enlightenment by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness within us visible and finally conscious. We all wear a persona, a mask we show the world. But beneath it lies the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, fear, and try to hide. Florence Nightingale didn't find her strength in comfort. She found it in the dark corridors of Scutari, facing the shadow of death with a single lamp. To be truly resilient, you must integrate your shadow. A person who is incapable of being dangerous is not virtuous. They are simply harmless and weak. True peace belongs to the person who has a sword but keeps it sheathed. It is the choice not to use power that defines your character. You must be capable of both fire and water. Stillness is not the absence of energy, but the perfect containment of it within a purposeful vessel. The shadow contains your untapped potential. When you stop running from your darkness, you can use its energy to fuel your journey through the fog. Resilience is the light that burns brightest when the world is at its darkest. It is a choice to be the order within the surrounding chaos. Knowledge of the self is the ultimate weapon. If you know your own darkness, no external shadow can ever truly terrify or deceive your heart. Wholeness, not perfection, is the goal. By accepting all parts of yourself, you create a fortress that is flexible, resilient, and virtually impossible to break. In the silence of your own company, the shadow speaks. Listen to it, understand it, and then lead it toward the light of your conscious will. You are both the saint and the sinner, the master and the slave. Recognizing this duality is the first step toward true psychological and spiritual sovereignty. The higher you climb, the longer your shadow becomes. Do not fear it, let it remind you of the height you have achieved through your struggle. The greatest treasures are often hidden in the darkest places of the soul. Go there with courage and you will find the strength you need. Your internal fortress is built in the dark. It is forged in the moments when you choose to stay awake while the rest of the world sleeps. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman, taught that the mind must be like water still, yet capable of overwhelming force when the right moment finally arrives. In the depths of a concentration camp, Viktor Frankl discovered that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our ultimate freedom. Musashi won his duels because he was empty of fear and ego. He didn't fight the opponent, he simply allowed the natural flow of reality to manifest. Frankl's meaning is the mortar of the inner fortress. If you have a why to live, you can bear almost anyhow the world throws at you. Be like the mountain. The clouds are your thoughts, the storm is the world's chaos. They pass, but you, the observer, the mountain, remain forever fixed and unshaken. Protect your purpose. It is the most delicate and yet the most powerful thing you possess. It is the seed from which your future fortress grows. Stillness is a skill. It requires the discipline of a warrior and the patience of a saint. It is the practice of being present in pain. We do not find ourselves, we create ourselves. Every choice to remain calm in the face of chaos is a strike of the chisel on your soul. Musashi and Frankl are two sides of the same coin, the warrior's detachment and the survivor's purpose. Together, they form the blueprint for an unbreakable mind. Balance is not a static state, it is a dynamic movement. You must constantly adjust, yet never lose sight of the center of your own internal gravity. Your fortress is now taking shape. It is built of Stoic logic, Jungian depth, and the unbreakable will of those who have survived the very worst. The fortress is not built in a day. It is built in the small, quiet choices of your everyday life. It begins with a single moment of awareness. Start an evening review. Look at your day without judgments. Where did you lose your peace? Where did you give your power away to the world? Choose one thing to stop doing. Perhaps it is checking your phone the moment you wake up, or explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand. Practice the 3-second pause. When the world hits you with a stimulus, wait 3 seconds before you react. In that gap, your true freedom lives. Be the person who moves at their own pace. The world will try to rush you, but your fortress has its own time and its own rhythm. Stillness is your birthright. Do not let the digital age steal it from you. Reclaim your attention, for it is the most valuable resource you have. Your internal fortress is now a reality. It is a place where you can retreat to find clarity, strength, and the courage to face any storm. When everything else falls apart, the only thing that will remain standing is the character you have forged in the silence of your own disciplined mind. Sovereignty belongs to you. Not to the news, not to your boss, and not to your fears. You are the architect of your own internal peace. Go forth and build. The world needs your stillness now more than ever. Be the light that does not flicker, even when the wind howls loudest.